Good morning to everybody. My name is Fulčēri Bruni Ročia. I am the head of the knowledge program of the European Investment Bank. We promote, among other things, the summer school, and we invite 3 students from the University of Riga to join us. But in order to motivate or to give a reason for you to attend our summer school, we believe that it is important that you understand what is the European Investment Bank and why it is important for you and why this is a great opportunity for you. So to have a summer school is always nice, but maybe there are many opportunities around and you want to know why this summer school. This summer school offered by a bank, which is also an institution. Is the European Investment Bank is both a bank and an institution of the European Union. Why it is important for you to listen today and maybe to apply to the presentation of a bank, because it's not a normal bank. First of all, what makes the EIB a different bank is the size and the impact of the bank. The second point is the political role that the bank plays. The third is the specific role that the bank is increasingly paying on the climate action of the European Union in order to fight climate change. So, I think that first of all we have to start, next slide please, on what is it. The EIB, European Investment Bank, is first of all a group. It's a bank and it's a fund, European Investment Fund. Why it is the European Union as a bank? Because in 1957, when the European Union was created, the member states were 6. There was one state which was much poorer than the other. Italy was much poorer than France, Germany, and Benelux. And Italian politicians said, it's very nice the idea to create a European Economic Community, it was called at the time, a community having the target to liberate circulation, for freedom, so-called, free movement of people, merchandise, goods, services, and capital. But if one country is much poorer than the other, in real terms would mean that there would be a free movement of people in the sense of mass migration from Italy to the north and mass arrival of goods from the north to the south. So, Italy proposed to have an institution which can help to compensate this periphery of Italy toward the rest of the founding members of the European Union and the periphery of Italy as economic power. You may sound it something which resound to you, this page, done in 1957. Also today, for instance, Latvia is peripheral to the core of Europe from a geographical point of view, and when Latvia joined the European Union was much poorer than the average European country. So also Latvia could have the same kind of reasoning, very nice to join the European Union, but if there are no compensatory measures helping Latvia to integrate the Latvian economy to the European economy, to be member of a common entity would mean a massive migration from Latvia toward the west and a massive inflow of goods and therefore impoverishment of the country. So that is why was founded a bank. Why a bank? Because a bank, by definition, is going on the market. A bank is a table where a banker stays in the middle, and get money from savers, from the market, collect money from people who wants to deposit money on the table, and the other side is giving money to people who wants money in order to invest on something, a street, at this university, or a factory, or whatever. So a bank can collect money always. There is no end. There is always a possibility to collect money on the market in order to lend to somebody. But then you have to wonder why somebody should give money to this bank. So the question is, why European Investment Bank could and can and should politically, institutionally play a different role from whatever other bank in the world, from Deutsche Bank, from Salomon Brothers, or whoever else. Well, the idea was, let's create a very strong bank so that is attractive for deposit of money for subjects who wants to deposit money on something very secure. But when you deposit money on something which is very secure, normally you get a very low interest rate. So, me as a banker, if I receive a person has saved money and put money on my table, I have to pay an interest rate. But the interest rate I will pay is a function of who I am as a banker. And of course, if I am a shaky banker, I have to pay a very high interest rate because the person depositing money doesn't trust me. But if I am a very strong banker, I can pay a very low interest rate because the person is very secure. And if I pay a very low interest rate, then I have very cheap money on my table. Then, if I am not just a bank, but I am also an institution, a European institution, and therefore I am not profit-oriented. I want to use money for public good, then I can lend money to a very low interest rate because I bought money, I taken money from the market at a very low interest rate. So imagine that the interest rate from the central bank in Frankfurt is 0%. Then I can pay, for instance, 0.50% of interest rate. So the cost of money on my table is 0.50. And if my cost of my salary, electricity, traveling and so on for the European Investment Bank is, for instance, 0.15%, then I can lend money at 0.50, which is my cost, plus 0.15, which is 0.65. So I lend money at 0.65. Now, put yourself on the shoes of the industrialist, on this other side. This industrialist is an important factory, an important firm, but as if it is going straight with its own face to the market, so not through this table, but going straight to the market, then he will have to pay an interest rate which is a function of his own risk. And his own risk is maybe 3%, 4%. I don't know whether you are acquainted with credit rating, which is classified AAA, AAA, BBB, BBB, and CCC, and so on. EIB has a triple rate, and therefore can go to the market and collecting money very cheap. But if the factory is going straight to the market, and even if it is a good factory, for instance, double B, which is very good, will pay 3-4%. So there are projects which are very good projects from economic point of view, from environmental point of view, from social point of view, but which cannot afford to be implemented if the cost of money to finance it is 3–4%. But it can be financed if the cost of money is 0.65%, as I made in my example. Therefore, if that project qualifies for being an EIB project, so falls within the directives, the logic, the eligibility of European Investment Bank, then the factory, the enterprise, can come to the bank and collect the money at a very much cheaper interest rate. Why? Because it's taking our money, and our money are collected with a face, with a credibility, with attractiveness of a AAA bank. Now, how do you assess a AAA? How do you, as a saver, as a person who put money on the table, when do you feel you are secure enough to accept a very low interest rate? And now I would like to make questions and to listen to students if they have an idea. But I mean, let's go straight to the point. Normally, money goes where money are. So, the saver is putting money on my table. Why? Because under my table, there is a lot of money. What are this money? Is my own means. Can you go on funds? Yeah. So, that are our own funds. You see, it rises slowly, and then up, up, up. Here decrease a bit, which is Brexit, when we had to pay back something to UK. So, if you are a saver, for instance, your parents wants to send you to university. When you were born, they have, for instance, 50,000 euros. Then they don't want to speculate on these 50,000 euros. They don't want to become rich out of these 50,000 euros. They want just to be sure that in 20 years' time they will have 20,000 euros, 50,000 euros in order to send you to the university. So they want to put it on a table, on a bank, which is very secure. And is very secure because under this table there is a huge patrimony, which has been built up in 60 years. The second reason is that you feel secure when you have a guarantee. And who is the guarantee? For instance, if you as a student ask a loan, for instance, to go to university or to buy a car, normally a bank, a commercial bank, asks a guarantee maybe from your parents. So also the market asks guarantees to us as a bank. And who is our parents? Who are our parents? Our parents are the member states. So, these are all the shareholders of EIB. The three largest shareholders are Germany, France, and Italy, and then down, and Latvia is a shareholder as everybody else. So, the person putting money on the table of EIB is feeling comforted by the fact that not only the bank is a stable bank, but the bank has stable and important shareholders, which are the member states. But then there is a third criterion. When you give money to somebody, you think always how this money will be used. Because if they are used to go on holidays, then you think, well, maybe the person will not be able to give me back the money. But if the money are given to a good enterprise, a good project, then probably the person gets the money, will have the money to give back, if the project is good. And of course, if the project is won, there is a great risk of concentration if, for whatever reason, one thing goes back. But if the projects are so many, in so many countries, then the diversification of risk is high. And so the person putting money on the table is very tranquil that the money will be well used and come back from a large amount of subjects who somebody can go wrong, but many will go well. For instance, to talk about something tragic today, we have financed projects in Ukraine, and our projects have been bombed. Unfortunately, our projects do not exist anymore, but from an economic point of view, thanks God, is a small fraction of our projects. So, Anna, could you go back to slides 2? Oh, wait. Maybe at a glance. So, we have financed 1.5 trillion in 14,400 projects over 160 countries. And this is the third element which makes us a very large and powerful bank, and a bank you should know, and you should know that is your bank, is a bank of European Union, is a public bank. By doing this job, we are the largest multilateral bank in the world, much larger than the World Bank and of whatever other bank, for instance, the European Bank for Reconstruction and Development. Can I see the slide with the comparison? Yeah. You see here, that are the money we collect on the market and then we lend to the market. That is European Investment Bank, that is World Bank, Asian Development Bank, Inter-American, European Bank for Reconstruction and Development, International Finance Corporation, Nordic International Bank, African Development Bank, and so on. And here you compare the money we collect on the market with all the great operators in the market. And look, the largest operator in the market are states, the treasury of states. First is Italy, because Italy has a large debt, then France, Germany, UK, Spain, and then EIB, which is as large as Belgium and Netherlands together. So you may imagine how much money we collect on the market and what we do with this money at this point. So until now, I put emphasis on how we get the money, why we are a bank. And now I'm going to talk to you why we are a bank and why we lend the money from a political point of view, from an institutional point of view. So, can I go back there? So, now we understand what does it mean this. We raise our funds on the international capital market. Now we understand the relevance of that. We don't use taxpayers' money. We use market money. And we pass a favorable borrowing condition to the clients. With that money, we finance that. Okay, that is our at the card here. So what do we do with this money? Now I will tell you something about what we do with this money on general terms, and then my colleague will come to more practical terms closer to you. Can you go there? Okay. So in 2021, European Investment Bank, which controls the European Investment Fund, has lended or invested 95 billion euros. On what sectors? That are the sectors we finance the most. Innovation and digital human capital, sustainable energy and natural resources, sustainable cities and regions, small, medium-sized enterprises, and mid-caps. And we do this job all over the world. Now, when when we decide to lend to the 14,400 projects, to which projects are we going to finance? Which project are we going to finance? Which project are we going to select? We select projects which concur to the general objectives of the European Union. First of all, cohesion, economic growth, but under this you can analyze more in depth, as mainly today fighting the climate change, as innovation and competitiveness of Europe, and of course, supporting jobs as well. How do we choose the projects? We have a department, which is called projects, where sits not bankers, not lawyers, not finance people, but all technical people, engineers, medical doctors, science life science scientists, architects, whoever, from whatever sector, in order to analyze technically the project, so that the project can be said is a good project from a financial point of view, because we are a bank and the money have to come back, but is also a good project from an economic point of view. So for the society, for the economic area where the project is located. But it's also good from a social point of view, from a gender parity point of view, from an environmental point of view, and so on and so forth. So the project is analyzed from all perspectives. It's a very in-depth analysis. And the moment that we decide this project is a good project, the project gets a sort of stamp. So imagine the situation where a project gets a stamp. This is a good project, let's finance it. What can happen? That there is not only very conservative and savers who wants to put money in a very saving bank, in a very secure bank. There are also subjects in the market which are much more risk prone. They want higher risk. Why? Because they want higher interest rate. But of course nobody's crazy. They don't want to put money, to bet money at lotto. So what do? Is they put themselves beside this, the conservative saver, and they say, let me see what the bank is going to select and what the bank is going to invest in. And when the bank is investing in a project, I would like to join the bank. Of course, these private investors is asking a higher interest rate because you accept a higher risk, but not an extremely high interest rate. Why? Because the project is secured project by EIB funding, selection and funding. So the bank usually gives the long-term money and the private sector can give the short-term money needed for the project. In this way, imagine that in the world, imagine that there is one project costing 100 million euros and EIB is willing to finance it, can give 100 million euros collected in the market. But if we are going to give only 50 million euros, and we leave the market giving 50 million euros, then we will have another 50 million euros left over for us to finance a second project. And therefore, we multiply the number of projects we can intervene in. And at the same time, we allow the market, or we encourage the market, to put money in projects which are compatible or in line with the European policies. And therefore, we encourage the market to have a healthy strategy toward putting money in something which is positive for Europe. This process is called crowding in. So, these columns represent the projects we have selected every year. the amount, the total value of the project we have financed, we have selected every year. But the blue part is the part of all these projects that we have financed. And the yellow part is the part of these projects which has been financed by the private market, because the private market has been convinced by the fact that EIB is there. This means to have a multiplicator effect. And therefore is a very powerful engine. I give you a specific example. Look, in 2019 and 2020, we have financed more or less the same amount of money, the blue part. In 2019, we have crowded in 280 billion euros. In 2020, a little bit less. Of course, because of COVID. So the market was prudent, was not putting money in projects because everybody didn't know what happened, so wanted to keep money. So we made a bigger effort. 2021, the market was ready again to go with the EIB, and of course we made a higher effort. We financed more, I told you, something like 95 billion euros. But we managed to crowd in 360 billion euros. So it's been a very successful year from a strategic standpoint.